Hello, Year 9, and welcome to this last final week of your pollution poster brief. I hope you've enjoyed what you've done so far. There's been some really good responses from some of the students. It's been great to see their projects develop and their posters develop over the last few weeks. So we come to the last lesson, or the last week, and this week is all about adding colour to your line drawing poster. So you should have now drawn out your detailed poster. This should consist of lines and shapes. Like many standout poster campaigns, colour really grabs the attention of the viewer. Your task is to use appropriate and accessible materials to add colour, texture, pattern and tone to your final poster. Now, I've put some of the keywords up on the top, which I'll go through now. So layers is something I'm going to talk about over the next few pages, just to talk about how you can build up your drawing or your painting. Instead of just putting everything on in one layer, there's a good technique that you can use to start building up the tones and the colours and the contrasts. We definitely want the detail on this now, because this is your final lesson on this. So we really want to see those final details and those extra elements to your poster. We want you to think about using textures and how you can add smooth or rough or shiny surfaces to your objects on your drawing using colour. Tone, again, how can you get your dark and your light areas on your painting or your colouring in to try and give your objects some shape and some form and make them look a bit more realistic. And again, how accurate can you be? Okay, trying this to be your best drawing to be as detailed and accurate for this final piece of work. As you can see, I've got my drawing from last time and where I ended up with my pencil drawing, again, just looking at shapes and lines, no shading in there or anything. And then just on the right-hand side is a list of things that I'm going to use. I'm going to use watercolours, a brush and some pencil crayons. Like I said, you may only have felt tips, you may only have pencil crayons, you may be lucky to have watercolours and poster paints. If you have, use them, but again, use what you can. My top tip is don't go too dark with your colours at the beginning. Start with the lighter tones and then work darker. If you go too dark too quickly, it's going to be hard for you to get that back. So, on the left-hand side, and I've put a step-by-step guide over the next 2 pages, you can see how my paintings developed. It was quite important to show you that development so you didn't just see the final outcome, you could see how I approached my painting and my poster. So once it's drawn out, I use watercolours. These can be light pencil crayons if you want, or light felt tips, it's up to you. Or if you want to use poster paints, then you might want to water them down so they're a little bit more lighter, a little bit more translucent, so you can blend them and create a background texture. So you can see I've used those blues of the sky, left the white paper coming through on bits of clouds. I've then gone on the water and the sand and some of the rocks. I've gone a little bit darker on the waves, as you can see, just to build it up. On the image on the right hand side, I've started to add sort of a light grey shade to my writing, just to stop that flat shape or tube and start to give it some shape and form. And you can see the shadows have made it look a little bit sort of two-dimensional. Finally, moving on to the last couple of pages, you can see now my detail has increased. So I've started to use the watercolours on the straws and started to add some red in there for the stripes. And I've not just used one red, I've used different sort of thicknesses of paint and used water at different levels to try and get the thicker, darker colours for the shadows and the shades, especially when where the straws crease up, and then left it lighter, whether it's the paper coming through or a more watered finish for the highlights where the light might capture it. Okay, and again, I've added a little bit more detail on the rocks, and you can see in the middle picture I've added detail around the coral reef. So I've just thickened up my paint. You could go harder and heavier with your pencil crayon, so that coral reef really jumps out and is really colourful on there. And finally, again, just all those little touches in that detail I've talked about. I have cut out a load of sea creatures, sea animals, sea life, and added it to them and got that impression that they're getting sucked up through the straw. So the straw is really sort of sucking the life out of the sea. And I've not said too much after that. Hopefully the poster will do the talking itself, so people can try and interpret it and work out what's going on. Okay, so it's all about colour. You're going to have this week, and then depending on when we come back the week after, you'll probably have a bit of that time as well just to get it finished and completed. But I really want to see you spend this time using that colour on your poster and getting it finished. Okay, thank you very much.